It's marked out.
Mr. Chairman, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Showing
point
proof
of parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
proof
Chairman.
of Mann Act violations. Democrats should not be offended by pictures that black out.
Have I been recognized?
They should be
Objection. I have
offended
a
by
point of
actual
parliamentary
human
inquiry.
trafficking.
Marjorie Greene still somehow thinks that her job as a congresswoman is to show pornography to people, non-consensually taking and revealing people's photos and then non-consensually forcing us to see them. I have never seen this to be an important part of what a congressperson does. Mr. Smith goes to Washington, didn't involve him playing anything X-rated, and for some reason, she really thinks that is the point of being in Congress. Well, she's trying to make a point about the Mann Act, and we will get to that. But first of all, here is Jamie Raskin responding to her once again showing pornography to all of us.
Mr. Chairman, on July 26th, I sent you a letter about the last time this happened when the gentlelady introduced before this committee without any notice to anyone nude photos, pornographic images that were completely irrelevant to the purpose of the hearing itself. And my question to you is, are members allowed to simply put up sensationalistic, voyeuristic, pornographic images if they're not relevant to the actual object of the legislative proceeding? I want a parliamentary ruling on that.
Mr. Raskin, that's probably part of the questioning for Mr. Biden, violations of the Mann Act. Ms. Greene's led on that issue.
No, this is a question of the rules of the committee.
These pictures have already been entered into the record.
So in other words, you have accepted the idea that members can introduce irrelevant, sexually based, voyeuristic.
How is this irrelevant?
Well,
how does it relate to Joe Biden?
How does it relate to?
We're not doing a criminal investigation of Hunter Biden.
We've
point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order.
Testified in the FBI.
And the issue here is that Comer is supposed to be the responsible one, but he's not. He is as much enthralled to Marjorie Greene as the rest of them. He's terrified that if he were to shut her down, that she'd attack him on social media and he'd probably lose his seat. And so he needs to agree, yeah, no, you can just show people's dongs in Congress. Has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It's not even evidence of the Mann Act, the violations having to do with sexual sex trafficking that she's talking about. It is literally just a photo of his redacted penis. And she thinks, oh, we got him. We proved that he at one point was naked from the waist down, and thus it's relevant in some way. And it makes me wonder, I understand that there's a lot of potential explanations for why she's doing this. One is that she loves conspiracy theories. The other is that she's a genuine moron. The third is potentially, there are a lot of weird kinks out there. I'm not gonna shame anyone, but there's a reason that people go with trench coats and just flash. They like to force people to see things. Is this potentially a like flasher by proxy kink that she has? That she just likes the idea that anyone watching C-SPAN, including, I will remind you, children, will have to see these images and she's the one that forces them to see it? I don't know, I'm just asking questions directly to the gentlelady because I know that she watches the damage report. Marjorie Greene, what is your issue? And like, I'm not saying you can't practice your kink. I'm just saying you have to maintain respect for consent as you're doing it. Jordan, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's really just that she knows it's shocking and she knows she'll get attention for doing it. I think that's just her whole MO in Congress. It's do something outlandish, do something stupid, which is second nature for her, and she'll get attention. All press is good press in her mind. And my question is, why do you have those? Like, you could read about these things, read about the things that are on the laptop, read about all of his history or his past or whatever. Okay, I feel like I know too much about Hunter Biden already. Why are you then going and saving those pictures? And why have you printed them out and put them on a blown up poster repeatedly? Like there's a step there that I'm so confused by. Maybe it is that she's just really into it. Maybe she just deep down, she loves him. That's a very generous censorship bar. I mean, good for Hunter. Maybe that's it's like piqued her interest.
Yeah, I think that the printer ran out of black ink for a little bit to create that redaction. And so I love that, like, she just so desperately wants to show, but also she's kind of helping him out socially, at least. Maybe not in terms of his legal situation, but anyway, look, it's absolutely ridiculous. I worry about what this says for our government. I worry about the turnover rate at the Kinko's in DC, because you can't last long being forced to print out this sort of stuff. Brett used to he had this ad for Simon Simonson signs, and he would print out the big things that they show on the halls, on the floor of Congress. And yeah, now it's X-rated, so that's fun. But anyway, we're running out. I'll just briefly mention, because we have a few minutes. While she is focusing on his package, even if you set that aside, this is still the Republican Party deciding that what Congress is going to be about still is Hunter Biden. Now, many of them will not talk about his junk. They will instead talk about him repaying Joe Biden for his Ford Raptor or whatever. But all of it is still just focusing in a hypercritical fashion, never-ending fashion, on what Hunter Biden has done, as if there is nothing going on in the country that needs to be dealt with. Whether real problems that are grounded in reality, or even just made up problems that they would choose to focus on. Are there no caravans working their way towards our southern border? I ask you that. And they instead have decided that this is what Congress is gonna be about. And remember, we're cruising into an election year, Jordan. They seem to think that this is, in terms of how they're gonna present themselves to the country, to maintain control of the House, this is the best use of their time, and they have nothing to fear from doing this. What do you think? Could this potentially hurt them, or do you think that this is just, it's too important that they reassure their base?
John, I have to remind you that caravans only come and are only newsworthy in the run-up to an election, and then right-wing media doesn't care anymore. Just as we've seen over the past few cycles, you will see a caravan before the general election. That's just how it works. That's just the timing of caravans. Coincidental. They haven't done anything, and you've had a few members of Congress acknowledge this.
Yeah.
But I think they feel like smearing Biden, and apparently they can't do it well. They don't have enough on him, so they have to talk about Hunter. That's going to be their attempt. That's going to be their selling point in 2024. It's that the Biden family is corrupt. It's a crime family. And they have nothing to show for their legislative record. They've had turmoil in the House. They've, multiple speakers, even pro temp. But I don't know what their approach is going to be beyond trying to smear Biden as a crook. I don't think that's going to work, because they really don't have anything concrete to show for it. They might try to push for an impeachment, but that doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter. You're just charging him with some flimsy, I was on speakerphone with my son potentially type stuff. It's just not going to land well, because it's just so abstract to a large portion of the voter base.
Yeah, wouldn't end well, and might actually backfire. Like if they decide we're gonna dive into an impeachment thing against Joe Biden, and they have nothing, then a lot of Democrats might be reminded of how extreme and out of touch the Republicans are. It's the thing where, because Donald Trump is so corrupt and has broken all these laws, they have to pretend that the other side is doing it too. But Joe Biden is just too boring. He's too sleepy. He's not the criminal you want him to be. I mean, he's done tons of shady stuff, but from their point of view, that stuff is okay because their side does it as well.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.